Gosh, I forgot what take this is. Here's your easy guide to understanding alternate media. Hello and welcome to the Prince Magnum channel. I'm your host, Prince Magnum. Welcome to In Your Face. You all know that I'm loosely affiliated with a couple of channels here on YouTube besides, having my own channel. First and foremost, those channels are Burt TV and Cadillac Kid Productions. My friend, the Cadillac Kid, not too long ago, him and I had a wonderful phone conversation. It was cut short because he was stuck at work, and I wish we would have had more time to talk. So to my buddy up there in Halifax, the master of tongue-in-cheek hot rodding, the Cadillac Kid, lots of love from all the way down here in Bonne Terre, Missouri, to you up there. And then for those, I think everyone within the Maverick Nation pretty well knows that I'm friends with Big Bad Burt on Burt TV. He's still learning about alternate media, and for a lot of you out there, because I'm getting ready to release it, to actually begin working on a video that's going to really expose Missouri. Let me say up front, when it comes to alternate media, Burt is still learning a lot. A lot of times, and it's really hilarious, he'll send me links to mainstream media, and it's like, no, and then I have to send him a link of what the actual truth is. And he's still learning. He's still learning. So what I'm going to do is provide a guide for all of you, a kind of a shorter guide, if you will, of the things I'm trying to teach Burt when it comes to actual alternate media, because he wants to do more of this. So, I guess you could say, here's a tutorial. First thing you need to understand that this past election, again, and I'm going to say it right to the camera, this past election had nothing to do with Democrats, and it had nothing to do with Republicans. It had all to do with globalists and nationalists. Okay? Well, Prince Magnum, how do we know the difference? That's easy. If a politician is talking about bringing jobs to the area, bringing stability to the area, and they're trying to do that, they are a nationalist. If at any point a politician is trying to talk about doing things on a particular global scale, and it sounds a little fishy, well, that's a globalist. Well, what do globalists want to do? Well, they want strong world government that controls the people. Okay, if you will, think of it more like this: Nazi Germany or old communist Russia on a global scale. Okay, and we're starting to see more and more of that. We're starting to see a lot of censorship, a lot of rights of freedom of speech. Thankfully, the Prince Magnum channel still operates small enough that it might take them a moment to notice this video. You're going to see this on a, you're going to see more and more of this. You're already starting to see it on Facebook. You're starting to see it on Twitter. You're starting to see it right here, right here on YouTube. A lot of censorship. Now, I'm not blaming the people at Google. That's not their fault. They are paid, they make their money off of advertisements. These advertisements come from corporate U.S. Corporate U.S. is around the world, okay? And this goes all the way back to Nazi Germany. You can Google this yourself, how Henry Ford in the 1950s sued the U.S. government for bombing some of his factories that were in Nazi Germany. You can Google that yourself. Okay? I'll leave that up to you guys. So how does this tie into, how does alternate media and mainstream differ? Okay, mainstream media likes to spin actual. Um, they'll take regular news and they'll spin it to where it fits uh, the globalist agenda. Okay, and I'll take a real good one. And my buddy Bert, he sent me this link from I think mainstream media trying to say that James Comey, former FBI director, uh, was uh, was told not to investigate possible Russian involvement in the presidential election. He was not told that. And I have two clips that say otherwise. Take a look for yourself.
Did the president at any time ask you to stop the FBI investigation into Russian involvement in the 2016 U.S. elections?
Not to my understanding, no.
Did any individual working for this administration, including the Justice Department, ask you to stop the Russian investigation?
No.
Officials at the Department of Justice opposes a specific investigation. Can they halt that FBI investigation?
In theory, yes.
Has it happened?
Not in my experience, because it would be a big deal to tell the FBI to stop doing something that without an appropriate purpose. I mean, we're oftentimes, they give us opinions that we don't see a case there, and so you ought to stop investing resources in it. But I'm talking about a situation where we were told to stop something for a political reason. That would be a very big deal. It's not happened in my experience.
All right. And basically, these clips are directly from C-SPAN, and the real work, I cannot take credit for this. The real work was done by the Alex Jones Show, okay? So pay close attention, okay? The New York Times started it, and the rest of mainstream media picked up. They're short stroking it for all it's worth, trying to discredit our president. Was there possible Russian involvement from in this past presidential election? Well, I'll tell you what. Why don't we use mainstream media to tell the truth? This is actually Vladimir Putin. I'm going to play some clips, and we're going to talk about that.
You had said for months that Russia had nothing to do with the interference of the American election, and then this week you floated the idea of patriotic hackers doing it. Why the change, and why now?
I hadn't said anything. It's just that French journalist asked me about those hackers. I told him the same thing I can tell you. Hackers can be anywhere. They can be in Russia, in Asia, even in America, Latin America. They can even be hackers, by the way, in the United States, who very skillfully and professionally shifted the blame, as we say, onto Russia. Could you accept that? In the midst of a political battle, by some calculations, it was convenient for them to release this information. So they released it, calling out Russia. Can you imagine something like that? I can.
Have you gone back to speak with the ambassador about what was in those discussions he had with Jared Kushner, with anybody else from the Trump campaign?
No.
Never?
No, I haven't.
Aren't you interested?
No, because had there been anything significant, he would have reported it to the minister. The minister would have reported it to me. There weren't even any reports. There's nothing to even talk about. There wasn't even any kind of specific discussion about sanctions or anything else. For me, this is just amazing. You created a sensation out of nothing. And out of the sensation, you turned it into a weapon of war against the current president. Well, this is, you people are so creative over there. Good job. Your lives must be boring.
Okay, again, I can't take credit for this. This was put up by MSNBC, the leaders of fake news. And this, basically, the Alex Jones show, basically busted them. And Vladimir Putin, Russia is not communist anymore. They're coming out from what we're trying to come out from underneath. And mainstream media is trying to make them the bad guys again. Why would they do a thing like that? Why would they try to do that to our allies? Again, this is globalism trying to take our rights away, and they're trying to control the media. And if they control the media, they control what we think. That's the way they figure it, okay? This is just communist propaganda right here in the U.S., okay? Trying to make Russia the bad guys again, and they're not. They're not. They can barely run their own country as it is. They're holding their own, okay? That being said, where is the biggest bulk of globalism happening? Well, it's happening in the the Democratic Party. The Democrats have been hijacked by the globalists. You're welcome to look up all the stuff, all the dirty stuff about it. It's on YouTube. It's all over Google. It hasn't. I don't believe it's been fully censored yet. But Barack Obama, we don't even know it. He's the ghost president, really. We're starting to see a lot of stuff come up where it's a lot darker than what we actually thought. You're welcome to take a look at it yourself. The Clintons are dirty. You're welcome to look that up yourself. I'll tell you what, if you really want to see some dirty stuff, type in your Google search bar, Clinton Foundation and Haiti. I promise you, it'll scare the crap out of you. Okay? Just take a look, it'll start leading you down some really interesting, roads. It'll scare you. Okay? Just promise you on that. But if you want something more local, look no further than my old hometown area, Arcadia Valley. Let's take a look at how far globalism has infiltrated the Democrat Party.
Okay, folks, welcome to the Arcadia Valley area. The three towns in this area are Pilot Knob, Ironton, and Arcadia. And it's just, if you look at it as a whole, it's Arcadia Valley. Okay? Right now, we're coming into Pilot Knob. Pilot Knob has it's the site of Fort Davidson, there was the Battle of Fort Davidson right here in Missouri during the Civil War, and basically decided the fate of the West of what was then the United States. Okay, so very interesting, lots of history here, and we'll talk a little bit more about the history as this video progresses. Right now, our main focus is commerce. The town, two of the towns are dying, the other one's kind of holding its own. Pilot Knob is holding its own. Despite the fact that PK Bowling cannot stay open, the old hospital, Arcadia Valley Hospital has been gone since 1999. Iron County General kind of holding its own, and of course McDonald's. Come on, it's McDonald's. They hold their own. Pilot Knob does even actually have a couple of factories. It's even got a scrapyard. Doing very well otherwise. They've got a progressive mayor, Democrat, to my knowledge. But basically, when she flips the Ironton Chamber of Commerce, the Bird, or the school board, the Bird, and does what is necessary for the town, Pilot Knob does very well. Now, real quick, all of three of these towns are so close together that there's been talk about a consolidation, lumping it all into one town. Not just because all three towns are so close together, because two of them are pretty much non-existent. We are now entering Ironton. Ta-da, see what I mean? They're so close together, it's ridiculous. Okay. There are some businesses right here kind of holding their own. One of them that we're passing by, Alco, closed. The restaurant on your left-hand side changed ownership more times than I can really count since the 1980s. The bar and grill that's on the right-hand side that we're passing right now has changed names and ownership, again, more times than I can count. It's ridiculous. As a matter of fact, as we're passing through, a bar and grill wasn't even open. This is kind of the theme for this area. A lot of mom-and-pop stores that are just not open on they're only open on certain days, and they're only open for certain times because they just can't afford to keep them open. But that's the bulk of the business down here, is mom-and-pop stores just like that. So the question remains, Well, why don't they get bigger business down here? Well, they did at one point. The Alco that closed, well, initially Walmart wanted to get in down here, but guess what? Chamber of Commerce kept them out. Why? Because Chamber of Commerce owns mom and pop businesses. See where this is going. This is a type of corruption that you'll actually see. They're out for themselves and screw the rest of the town. The bulk of the businesses that you're going to see right now that are doing well, Town and Country, which we're passing, they're holding their own. Walgreens, come on, they're doing very well. Napa Auto Parts, that you actually see that blue building, they're doing very well. Fisher Auto Parts, right across the street, doing very well. They've been in the area for many years too. Pretty much, that's about it. The rest of the businesses kind of holding their own. Ironton is kind of the epicenter. They're the center of it all, and pretty much you're going to see old houses that are falling down around the owner's ears, or businesses that are doing okay, or you're going to just plain see businesses that are only open certain times of the week for only so many hours. But really, you're just going to see a lot of abandoned buildings. Even in some cases, you're actually going to see abandoned churches. Now, I may not be a churchgoer, but guess what? I have some friends that used to go to these churches, and they just don't exist. This is the bulk of what you're going to see on Main Street. Main Street, Ironton. Corruption is out of hand. Chamber of Commerce and the school board, they're the ones that run businesses out or don't allow businesses in. In most cases, people that graduate high school, as far back as when I was in high school, when I graduated high school in 1997, it was not uncommon that most of us would move away from the area. Now, some of us did move back, but in most cases we didn't. I was one that I moved back briefly, but I was glad to get out of the area again. The towns are dying. Most cases, the streets. It used to be said that the streets would roll up at about 8 o'clock. It's safe to say most of the time streets roll up about 4 o'clock now. There's just not enough business. That's just the way it is. Real quick, the courthouse that's on your right-hand side, been there since before the Civil War, even has a mark where a cannonball hit it during the Battle of Pilot Knob. So a little bit of history again right there. Okay, do you see, if you're watching this video real closely, look at the State Farm. There used to be an arcade there that I used to play pool in and ran pool, was in pool tournaments. Didn't do half bad, but Chamber of Commerce and the school board did not want them there and pushed them out. Took them 6 months to do it. They pushed them out of town. The reason being, again, it was not a business that they wanted. Okay? Politics down here revolves around one political party, the Democrats. Okay? The Democrats run it. I don't believe I've ever heard of a Republican running down here, or even an independent. So this is the bulk of the problem. You have a one-party system down here. Now, abroad, the people down here vote for, statewide. They vote for. They've started voting Republican. Federal-wise, they have started voting Republican. How do I know that? Because I actually went down here and started asking questions. So why is it that no Republican down here or an independent will run down here? Well, I imagine there's probably laws in place or ordinances that pretty well prevent it. The politics has actually gotten so bad, we're actually passing by my old high school. Now, this was kind of a thing back when I was in high school, but it's even worse now. One of the students, I actually talked to a student that graduated, guess what, 2017. So this year, as I'm narrating and doing this video, they actually said that it has reached a point where if you're not connected to the right family that has the right political connections, you're probably not going to play, be able to get on a team to play sports. If you do, again, if you're still not connected to the right people, you won't even get to play even if you're on the team. You're just kind of there to say that you were on the team. It's just one of those things. If the right people don't have a family member on that team, or trying out for that team, you might get lucky. And it has reached a point where a lot of students now just don't enjoy playing the sport. So because of the politics that go on within the area, guess what? Even the extracurricular activities at the high school level are now feeling the effects. It's ridiculous. So again, this is a type of corruption that you'll see in a one-party system. So even though I wouldn't go so far as to say that that globalism has truly infiltrated, but we're starting to see a corruption of a one-party system, just like you would in say like communist China, or even old communist Russia, or something to that effect, even at the democratic level. So this is where that whole control thing is an issue. We're literally watching a very historic town die right in front of your eyes on video. I'm not kidding you. Again, the corruption is so bad down here. There's no money coming in for taxes. The trailer court we're passing by, everybody and their brother knows that meth runs out of that trailer court. It may be even now heroin, I imagine, because it's just cheap and easy to get. The police are very helpless down here because they just don't have the means to combat it anymore. They just don't have the means. So they have kind of thrown their hands up in the air. By the way, earlier in the video, we did pass by City Hall. City Hall looks good. You see what I'm getting at? This is an ongoing issue. So literally, a very old town. As a matter of fact, take a look right there. That jail, I don't believe, has had any serious updates as far as construction-wise in several years. There are some businesses that are doing well in the Ironton area. Casey's is doing very well. As a matter of fact, if you continue up this road, come to Highway 21, hang a left, you cannot miss Casey's. They're doing very well, thank goodness. But for the most part, none of the businesses are doing well, and that's just because you have a one-party system that's all for themselves, killing the town. And it's mostly people within the Chamber of Commerce or the school board. And I even know someone who's on the school board, was the principal when I was in high school, and he knows better. By the way, over there, Ulysses S. Grant was stationed at Fort Davidson, and when he got his paperwork promoting him to the head of the Union Army, there's actually a statue over there near that Catholic church where he opened up the letter and read that he was going to be promoted. So there you have that. Real quick, most of the businesses that we're passing by, gone. Don't exist anymore. And these are businesses that have been there for years. Okay, now let's cross the bridge and go into Arcadia, Missouri. This is a town that, too, has a lot of history. Again, these towns are very close together. Right over there, the restaurant that you see, that has changed ownership more times, and it used to be called Andy's, but it has changed ownership so many times. As a matter of fact, when we were there, it wasn't even open, except for certain hours and certain days. If you go further up that road, there's actually a grocery store that literally had no business whatsoever. They closed down about 4 months ago, and to my knowledge, it was so dirty and nasty the last couple of months that people just could not go in there. Again, Arcadia, they maybe have one or two businesses that are holding their own, but most of these businesses have actually been closed for so many years that these buildings should have been torn down. As a matter of fact, the gas station we're passing by, I believe that that gas station has actually been closed. I remember in elementary school in the 80s that gas station being closed. So the bank that's on your left-hand side that we're passing by, that bank has been closed for some time, and I used to do my banking there back in the early 2000s, but it's gone. So again and again and again, a one-party system. The Democrats basically are running this town also into the ground. Pilot Knob is the only one that's holding their own, and that's just because of a progressive mayor. And I believe she's Democrat, but she basically tells her party to kiss off, that it's all about the people and keeping the town doing well. Where does this all tie in? Well, even though, again, I don't necessarily believe that it could be, but globalism has necessarily reached these towns, but you'll actually see that's kind of the theme, globalism, one-party system, that sort of thing, but that's just the way it is. So there you have it. All right, let's cut back to the main video.
If that doesn't scare you, I don't know what will. Remember, it's not as it once was. My buddy Bert is still learning this. He's having a hard time believing that the party he was told to support is for the poor that was, for the poor working class people, has been hijacked by globalists. He's having a hard time with that. I hope he gets on board soon because, basically this train is rolling. Freedom. Freedom is what we're screaming. The revolution has begun. It's just like 1776 all over again, just without the violence. Hopefully it stays that way, but we're starting to see the globalists try to use violence. And just pay close attention to the Alex Jones Show, Next News channel on YouTube. Pay close attention to WikiLeaks, and you'll pretty well be in the right ballpark area. I promise you, it won't be that. It'll lead you down some pretty scary paths, but it's high time you all start paying close attention. Okay. That brings us to the usual spot. Again, if you've never checked out my buddy the Cadillac Kid, please do so at this time. He's a very tongue-in-cheek hot rodder. A lot of fun to watch. If you like comedy, check out my buddy Big Bad Bert on Bert TV. And for everything else that just keeps you motivated to be a do-it-yourselfer, you've come to the right place right here on the Prince Magnum channel. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and as always, get out there and work on a project. I don't care what it is, just do something with yourself. If you have a sweetheart, sweep them off their feet. And as always, if nobody has told any of you that they love you today, Prince Magnum does. God bless you, and have a happy 24. Thank you.
I will tell you something that you probably already know. I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings, but the United States, everywhere, all over the world, actively interferes with the electoral campaigns of other countries. Put your finger anywhere on the map of the world, and everywhere you will hear complaints that American officials are interfering in internal electoral processes.
But with respect, that sounds like a justification.
It doesn't sound like a justification. It sounds like a statement of fact. Every action has an equal and opposite reaction. But I repeat, we don't even have to do that. Presidents come and go, and even the parties in power change. But the main political direction does not change. That's why, in the grand scheme of things, we don't care who's the head of the United States. We know more or less what is going to happen. And so in this regard, even if we wanted to, it wouldn't make sense for us to interfere.